Good morning. I'm going to start off with a poem. I am letting go of extra weight, of clutter, of past mistakes. Of extra weight, I am mindful. Of past mistakes, I am kind. I am mindful, but I am quick on the gun, not able to think before I speak. I am kind and I am thoughtful, but I am quick on the gun, not able to think before I speak. However, I have time to listen, and I am thoughtful, dependable, strong, and kind. However, I have time to listen. I am resourceful, independent, and mindful, dependable, strong, and kind. I just need to work on my procrastination. I am resourceful, independent, and mindful. I write spiritual poetry. I just need to work on my procrastination and help when I can. I write spiritual poetry of clutter and help when I can. I am letting go. I'll come back to that. So good morning. For those that do not know me, my name is Reverend Edward Trout. My pronouns are he, him. I have personal passions of uplifting and empowering others. I also am very passionate about creativity in the arts, and I am an ordained interfaith minister through One Spirit Seminary out of New York. It is my pleasure to be your speaker here today. I want to start with a story that came to my attention from a site called The Daily Inspired Life. This is about a woman named Sasha. So Sasha was born, and I don't know why I'm standing here, I'm wearing this. Sasha was born, this is on, correct? Okay. Sasha was born in Seoul, Korea in 1957. No, it's not. Oh, it's not. Kent. Kent. Hello. Are we better now? Not yet. Not yet.
It's okay. You hardly need it after that.
Right? There are fresh batteries in it, and it's turned on. Oh, it went back off. There we go. There we go. Now pull it back. Pull it back. Pull it back. All right, back to Sasha. Sasha was born in Seoul, Korea in 1957, but the exact date of her birth is unclear because she was left in a trash can behind a restaurant on a sub-zero night in December. Now, she did end up getting adopted. However, her adoptive father molested her. Her adoptive mother was sure that she was possessed by a demon and would verbally and physically abuse her, trying to drive the demon out of her. As you might guess, Sasha had all of these experiences color all of her relationships long past childhood. They came through three different lenses. One of the self-loathing and shame. The second lens was one of fear. And then the third was one of anger. So after dealing with those in her relationships, she wisely sought counseling. And in counseling, what she learned was that she had to reframe how she had always viewed her childhood. So for starters, she was abandoned by her mother as an infant. But at that time in Korea, in the 50s, it was not uncommon for a mixed-race daughter or a firstborn daughter to be drowned. So she realized, well, my mother didn't drown me. My mother wanted me to have a chance. My mother also placed me inside a trash can where I was protected from some of the elements on a sub-zero night in December. My mother also placed me in a trash can behind a very popular restaurant where my cries would be heard and I would be saved. My mother wanted me to have a chance. And in those moments when she was reframing that, she could picture a young girl with a baby, unsure what to do, unable to take care of it, and wanting it to survive, and she could love that young girl. With her adoptive parents, it was a lot more about forgiveness. So her reframing there was looking back at her father's life as a child, when he was molested, and he was powerless, and he couldn't change things. And realizing that when she touched her adoptive mother, she got this angry face, and these screeching, and then laughter at her. And she came to realize that is her mother coming through from a generation before. So she could say to both of them, I am so sorry you went through that, and I know how you feel, and that shouldn't have happened. She makes a point in this forgiveness to say that forgiveness is not acceptance or endorsement of what was. Forgiveness is the release of resentment and the need for vengeance and victim identity. That's why she had to forgive. She is now a life coach, by the way. And the phrase that really struck me the most from her story, this was just a quote that she had at the very top of the story. I am not the words spoken to me. I am the words I speak to me. So I very much appreciate her sharing her story. As Michael mentioned, last week we were at Unity Village for the 20th annual Posse Music Festival. And that's a place where, who here has been to Unity Village? Just curious, okay. If you have not, I recommend you try to find a time to get there. It's a beautiful place, it's a serene place, it's a spiritual place. And then to meet there for a music conference full of positive music and positive people is just a sublime experience. And we've had the privilege of doing it for many years. While there, I was able to not only learn music and sing music and do our own music, but got to take workshops from people, including Karen Drucker. Many of us know her music very well. I retook an inner critic workshop, silencing your inner critic, from her. And she took some different approaches, and there were some new things that came to me from that workshop. And although I took more than two, I'm only going to talk about two today. There was that one, and then I took a workshop offered by Sloan Wainwright, which our own beautiful Susan Boatwright took as well. And in that workshop, it was all about accessing your creative side, your creative self. She called it swimming in the river of your song, but really it came down to poetry. And she gave us a poetic structure to work with and a way of expanding ourselves. I also took a chance to walk the labyrinth while I was there, to walk the nature trails, encounter all kinds of birds and wildlife and wonderful things. And when we got to the last night, the very end of the conference, David Roth, who's a visiting musician, been here many times, lovely folk singer with a beautiful heart, he was reminding us that when we went back out into the world, it's not the world that we had been experiencing for the week. It's like, don't leave your things lying around. They won't be there in an hour. Somebody will take them. Don't expect that everybody you encounter is going to be in a good mood and positive and full of all this joy. It's like people will be out in the world with their usual worldly stuff. And in a sense, this talk is a continuation of the one I did 2 weeks ago, and I was talking about being here for the evening of the Unity World Day of Prayer. And what a beautiful experience that was. As Joyce said, that ineffable experience. And I wanted it to continue. And the same thing here. I wanted that feeling to continue. So it's up to me to bring it and continue it. That positive creativity, that sense of being able to bring forth from myself something out into the world, that's building a life. I know there are many people in this room that don't think of themselves as creatives. Some do. But we are all creatives. We create the life that we are living. We create it with our thoughts. We create it with our choices. We create it with our reactions to the things outside of us. So when we're not feeling like we're living in that best place, it is up to us to raise our thoughts to that higher place that we sang of earlier. In the sense of today's message, I'm looking at that as a place of poetry, right? The elevated language. Because so often we live in a place of prose, right? The everyday language. Prose is lovely. I love prose. But by definition, prose is often thought of as dull, uninteresting, commonplace. And then some of us, at least in periods of time, tend toward the darker thoughts, the complaints, which I think of as graffiti. I'm scrawling something on somebody else's wall. I'm doing damage to somebody else's property because I am so pissed off, right? You never want to live there. That's a reaction that we can have, but you never want to live there. Now, don't get me wrong. There is absolutely gorgeous graffiti out in the world. By the way, what is the singular of graffiti? Graffito. Graffito. It's Italian. All right. So yeah, graffiti is always plural, just so you know. But there's beautiful graffiti out there in the world. There is gorgeous prose out there in the world, and there is terrible poetry out there in the world. But for the purposes of today's talk, it's where we're putting our mindset. Am I creating a life of poetry? Am I creating an everyday, day in, day out work life, and all I'm doing is maintaining? Or am I living in that lowest part where I'm actually damaging things? There is so much that we can control even when we feel like we are out of control. We can still control our thoughts. Our thoughts are not us. They are things we experience. In Proverbs 16:32, this is the New International Version, it says, "Better a patient person than a warrior, better one with self-control than one who takes a city." Now, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, made reference to this particular scripture, although, of course, he used the King James Version, so the language is a little more archaic and gendered. And what he had in writing about controlling our thinking started with, "Greater is he that conquereth his own soul than he that taketh a city." So I'm going to read part of what he wrote about controlling our thinking. I've made slight alterations to remove some gender and other alterations just for a tiny bit of clarity, but essentially, this is exactly what he said. "The thing to learn is how to control our thoughts. This brings us back to the proposition that all things are ideas in action, ideas clothed upon, a thing that has at its very center intelligence and action and wisdom. They make up a cell. The whole manifest universe is made up of cells. Now, these cells make the body, and we are told by modern physiologists that every cell is in action, and there is no such thing as a solid piece of matter. It is alive. It is all alive and in motion, and every cell has a certain intelligence. It knows what it is, what it wants to do, and is doing it just as fast as the controlling mind will allow. The controlling mind in the body of humanity is I am. And that I am is in dominion. It can direct and make laws for all the cells of the organism, and they have to obey. Now that is our privilege. So better one with self-control who conquers their own soul than one who takes a city." I do have to say, language-wise, not to argue with Proverbs or this particular translation, but I'm not sure a soul is made to be conquered. Just my personal observation. I think of it more as the ancient Greeks would say, "Know thyself." We are meant to be understood. We are meant to understand our thoughts, understand where we're coming from. And only in understanding can we then actually take control of them. So know yourself, know your soul. The thoughts that we carry, again, are not us, but we create through those thoughts. Our thoughts are prayers. And we are always praying, so seek a higher consciousness. I want to give you some steps for reframing thoughts. This is actually by way of Reverend Michael Davis, who's taking a self-care class through Unity. And there were some steps that he shared with me that I thought were very valuable to share on this day in this talk. As I mentioned, I took an inner critic workshop, the Silencing the Inner Critic from Karen Drucker. because it is not uncommon for people to have that voice in their head or voices in their head that tell them things about themselves that are not really true. For example, I will hear voices that say things like, "You're not as good as so-and-so. You aren't talented enough for that. Why would anybody care what you think? You're too old for that. You're too out of shape for that." All of these things that a voice from somewhere will tell me. But I also know it's not the truth. I don't know, you might have other things, and I'm not going to force anybody to share anything, but what does your critic tell you if you feel so inclined to share? You're not as smart as you used to be. You just need to be quiet. You're not good enough. These are lies, right? These are lies that we hear in our head. And we have to reframe them back into the truth we know. So there's a three-step process. Once you hear that thought, once you've identified, "Ooh, I'm thinking this thing, that's my thought," step number one is mindfulness. Can you give it a name? You can call it your inner critic. Or sometimes it's like, "Oh, that's my mother. That's my father. That's Mrs. Johnson from the third grade," right? So can you name that critic? Or you can just say, "That's my inner critic." Or give it a cute name like Bobby the Bully, whatever you want. Name it so you can be mindful that it is not you. Step two, a common humanity. Remind yourself you're not alone. Like everybody else that has been in your shoes has probably had that experience, or if not everybody, many. So at Posi's out at Unity Village, it's like most musicians have self-doubt. Most hear that voice telling them they're not good enough. I think all of them hear, "You're not as good as so-and-so." And that's true even for the non-musicians, for the non-artists. We hear those things, right? So when you hear it, you realize, oh, other people in the same boat have these doubts. It is not just me. It's not because I'm defective. It's not because I'm not good enough. It's because that's how humans respond to the world. Everybody like me has doubts. Every musician, every minister, every person has doubts. That was the common humanity. Step three, self-kindness. So reframe that thought into a compassionate one, compassionate language plus a unity truth statement. And for me, especially after Karen Drucker's workshop, I like to add at the beginning of that, "But the truth I know is this." So, for example, Bobby the Bully said, "I'm terrible at public speaking." My reframe would be, but I know the truth. Speaking in public is a skill that I am working on. My worth is unchanged in the eyes of the divine. So it's just a reframe. Now, in Sloan Wainwright's workshop that Susan and I both took, she talked about the struggles that we have in creating. And again, although she was speaking specifically to people who are writing lyrics or writing songs, life is creation. So these 6 steps, and again, I've made very slight word alterations here just for appropriateness. The original source that I could find for them was producer Marcus Romer, who had shared this in a tweet, and then it got shared and shared and shared. But step 1, you're undertaking something new, and your first thought is, "This will be awesome." Step number 2, "Ooh, this is tricky or hard." Step number 3, "This is crap." Again, edited for church. Step number 4, "I'm crap." Step number 5, "This might be okay." Step number 6, "This is awesome." I know I have experienced exactly that, and in fact, I experienced that in a sine wave. It is constant motion for me. I'm up here and then down here and then up here. Who else has had that experience? Great, okay. Again, we are not alone. So when you're feeling that, when you're down here, some things that can help. Sloan had shared just 7, I wouldn't even call them like exactly tips, but 7 things to focus on. And I'm not going to go into great depth on any of them because this is not a workshop and I don't want to be here all day. And you don't want me to talk all day. But 7 creative rituals, as she called them. One is the art of vulnerability. The more open you are, the more vulnerable you make yourself, the more you connect with others. You just read the author Brené Brown. You'll get lots of things on vulnerability in there. 2, the art of letting go. Letting go of how you thought it was supposed to be. Letting go of all the things that you hold on to and try to force in and just let it be. Speaking of let it be, number 3, the art of unpredictability. And I will get back to that too with another poem. But when I talk about poems, the art of unpredictability. Number 4, the art of meaning. Give it meaning. Find that meaning in it. Number 5, the art of creativity. Now, some people feel intimidated when you say, we're going to get creative. Creativity is nothing more than taking things that already exist and rearranging them in an unexpected way. You're taking elements that already exist. You're taking words and putting them in a new order. You're taking objects and finding a way that they fit together. You're taking concepts and reshaping them. But let's face it, like we have the periodic table. We're not creating new elements, right? You're taking things that already exist and simply trying a new way with those. Number 6, taking risks. It's part of the vulnerability too. But if you never take risks, you stay stuck right where you are. You have to risk something. You have to risk failure. You have to risk ego. Let the ego take a hit. Take the risk. And finally, number 7, hugely, the art of gratitude. Be thankful for all of that. So, one other thing, a major thing for me, and I believe for Susan, in Sloan's workshop was she introduced me to a poem format that I was not familiar with, which is the form of pantooms. P-A-N-T-O-U-M-S. Anybody else, anybody know what those are? I figured Lene might. Okay, a couple, good. I was unfamiliar, and as soon as we started working with them, I adored it. I adored it. So, as Sloan was working on these things, she said, just get it out. Like, it may not be perfect. Get it out. Do the thing. You have your entire rest of your life to edit it. Most of us edit the stuff before it gets out. And when we do that, it often never makes it out. Get it out. Then look at how to edit it. So this poem that I started with, I had asked, just yesterday, like not a lot of notice, I asked people to share if they were willing, something they were working on, one thing they were working on, and 3 positive aspects of themselves or their life. And that ratio to me is important because that poem that I read is from some of those prompts from members of this community. There were things that people are working on, things that we might see as negative, but there's also so much positive in there. You're not going to avoid the negative. You find ways to elevate it, right? By serving it with the positive. That's how you elevate it into art, into poetry. Because what the world needs from you is what is inside of you. If you hold all of that in, you are doing a disservice to the world. We deserve to know you. We deserve to know what you're bringing to this world. So we need your poetry. You are the poem, right? We need you to express that. There's nothing outside of you that is truly real and affects you. It's you. It's what comes from within. So let it out. And that's one of the reasons why daily journaling is so spiritually productive, because you're getting things out. So I will say, even despite all these things, it is possible sometimes to feel completely buried by the world. And there was a beautiful thought that came up at the music conference this week, shared by Jan Garrett. And if you don't know her music, she and her husband, J.D. Martin, beautiful music. But she shared, and I'll expand upon it a little bit. But basically, when we are buried, right? Sometimes we feel buried by the world. Sometimes we bury ourselves. And then sometimes there are others seeking to bury us. But the thing you have to remember is you're a seed. So when you get buried, you're not buried, you're planted. You are ready to break open into something new, some new creation that will break the surface. So when you're feeling buried, be ready for a change, because you are ready to burst open as a seed. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Just like Sasha in my earlier story said, "I am not the words spoken to me, I am the words I speak to me." Our daily word today, beautiful. The world becomes more beautiful when I find God in it. I find God in it. And the scripture used was Psalm 27:4. We're in the Psalms today. Psalm 27:4. "One thing I asked of the Lord that I will seek after, to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord." Now, house of the Lord probably sounds very familiar to people because it is famously toward the end of the 23rd Psalm, which is one of the most recited Psalms. And the metaphysical meaning, at least as interpreted by Jim Lewis, found from truthunity.net, dwelling in the house of the Lord means that one will be abiding in the consciousness of the presence of God. So to dwell in the house of the Lord is to abide in the consciousness of the presence of God, no matter what experiences come up, challenging or joyous. We will never forget that the Lord is our shepherd. And we will keep working to rebuild the consciousness of the inner presence, a consciousness of truth and a spiritual body. Hello. So as I conclude this talk, I want to end with another poem. So I already talked about these poems, and I was so thankful for the people that shared them. So in the Pantoum, let me talk about that structure so you understand when I read this next one how it is structured. It's in 4-line quatrains, like these little verses, 4 lines at a time. But every line gets repeated. So from your first verse, there are 2 lines that reappear in your second. And then the 2 new verses from the second reappear in the third, and so on until you get to the end. And then when you get to the very last one, you pull the last 2 from the first one that weren't repeated, and you repeat them at the end. And that's it. And it's this amazingly simple and complex structure at the same time. And when you just sit down and write in that structure, beauty comes out of it. Going back to our monthly focus, drawing on the power of divine order, right? You trust in that and know that you're where you're supposed to be in this moment. Life is balanced, in order, and all is well. I just trusted that these thoughts are going to fit together. And there are more that came later, by the way, that I still would love to put into one more poem. But as we come to a close here, if we could just take this as sort of a meditative poem. Get your feet on the floor, hands in your lap. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze. Wiggle in your seat if you need to get comfy. Take a nice deep breath. Breathe in right into that navel center, that center of order. One more deep breath. And I call this poem Forgiveness. I'm working on forgiveness for myself. I need better listening skills, but I don't like to wait. I want to get it done. And I need to consistently take action on my goals. I need better listening skills, yet I am compassionate, helpful, and loving. I need to consistently take action on my goals, and I continue to improve my health while living with chronic diseases. Yet I am compassionate, helpful, and loving with many beautiful friends. And I continue to improve my health while living with chronic diseases, and I am able to work my part-time job that I love. With many beautiful friends, I use my intuition to tap into how best to help others. and I'm able to work my part-time job that I love, I am a positive person. I use my intuition to tap into how best to help others, for I am compassionate, helpful, and loving. And I'm able to work my part-time job that I love because I'm creative. For I am compassionate, helpful, and loving. I am spontaneous because I am creative. I am also empathetic. I am spontaneous, but I don't like to wait. I want to get it done. I am also empathetic. I am working on forgiveness for myself. Take a nice deep breath. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, open your eyes, bring yourself back to the room. You dwell in the house of the Lord because you dwell in the consciousness of the divine presence. And the world becomes beautiful because not only are you finding God in the world, but you are also learning to see the world through God's eyes. So this world is your page, right? Life is your poetry. You are the creator and the creation. You are the poem, and the world is better for having you in it. Amen, amin, aho, ashe. So it is. Namaste.